time aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. Just a few days ago, Mr. Kerr and I were at the Evermore Resort, located right alongside Disney World down in Florida. As you guys know, one of our favorite places. We got to hang out with our buddies Summer and Julian, and as part of the fundraiser that we were doing for Give Kids the World, we recorded an AMA, Ask Me Anything, live from the Evermore while we were down there for our stay. It was a lot of fun, a couple of technical glitches, there were some snorts and some chuckles, and I'm sure some things that we probably shouldn't have said, but we thought it would make a fun episode for this week to have all four of us back together and to show that to all of you guys in case you missed the live stream. So format won't look exactly like it does, just based on the streaming equipment they were using down there, but audio should be great. I know producer Jeremiah will do everything he can to make us look and sound as awesome as possible. And then Mr. Kerr and I will be recording later this week for a more typical episode, and we absolutely will do a little bit of recap on the Evermore, our Disney World trip, and all the other crazy stuff we have going on. Anyway, hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining in here at the AMA. If you're not a Redditor like Julian, that stands for Ask Me Absolutely Anything.
Is that right?
That is.
Pretty clever.
Wouldn't that be AMAA?
It is.
It rounds out the same? Okay. Okay.
There you go.
What I like about this is very little right now.
Well, I
Very
think we're
smooth.
You know, I think anyone who unfortunately stumbled upon it thinks the very same thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so if Mommy's live, then I will just say that we're gonna go live on Mommy Points, and I'm not gonna go live on mine. It's not working.
Yeah.
It's working on everybody's.
Everybody's but mine. So yeah.
Sorry. He put a lot of effort into it. You did a great job. It looks very legit here.
We're getting some questions here. We got a few
All right.
softballs. Ed, you ready to introduce everybody? Where we are, who we are, why we're doing this?
Rock and roll.
Where are we?
We are at the place that Summer says we should be.
So we are at Evermore, which for those that don't know is a vast new playground behind Disney World, anchored by the Conrad, which is an unbelievably beautiful property. There are, I hope I get these numbers right, 279 houses and like 80 flats. Like
It's something like that. There's like,
apartments.
did he say like 3,000?
It's like over 2,000 beds.
Over 2,000 beds. Yeah. Thousands of beds.
With a massive lagoon.
An 8-acre crystal lagoon.
All right, and I tried to call it a pool once.
And it is not a pool.
It's not a pool, and it's true. It's not a pool. It is a massive lagoon. So a 5-person
Paddleboard.
paddle boards.
Yeah. Kayaks.
Yep.
All included.
Yes. Shockingly.
I mean, that's unusual. There was a huge water slide that 4 people can race at a time.
I didn't get that today. So how much skin did you guys lose on the water slide?
Well, none on the slide,
Okay.
but
Okay.
skin was lost.
I did hear skin was lost. So where was skin lost?
On the rope. They thought it was a really good idea to put a couple older gentlemen on the rope swing,
Nice.
which they made us sign a waiver for.
Nice.
And the first thing the lifeguard said was, "Hey, how's the skin on your hands?" And I went, not so good, but that was a lot of
Why are
fun.
you asking that?
Didn't
Yeah.
you do it again, Julian?
I did 3 times.
Did you?
Nice.
You didn't-
Well-
I got better every time. If I had done it 20 more times, I would have hung on.
Okay.
I don't think
I'm
so.
going to continue to talk and not ever share the microphone with Julian.
Yeah. I was just going to
That's fair.
Is that how-
But Evermore's outstanding. You're going to see more about it. I'm doing a whole story on the Points Guy. I also stayed at the Conrad, reviewed it back in February, but this time we're in a big old house with all these hooligans.
Oh, we are hooligans.
There's a
no question.
slide in the house. There's a pool right outside the house.
Yeah. Well,
Allegedly, a chef is about to come in the house and cook dinner, so that might happen.
the slide goes from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor.
There's 3 floors.
As we learned, the adults make odd noises inside the slide when they try to go down it. Yeah, pretty much.
I
But I
don't-
think you noted
There's a
how,
couple.
even though these houses look incredible, that
Yes.
they're actually
Statler and Waldorf.
reasonable price if you could fill them.
Yeah, that's the key. So we have we did not pay for this though. We were invited, and we'll tell
Yes.
stories for being here. So thank you, Evermore. But if we had paid for it, it would
Yeah.
come out to about $245 per room per night, which is about like a Disney moderate resort on a not crazy night. So you could pay per night Disney moderate resort, which is great, or you
It
can pay
would be
for
like
this.
Caribbean Beach, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Port Orleans, that kind of thing. But you won't have a slide in your room if you do that, or a private pool.
Wait. There's no slides at Caribbean Beach?
I haven't found them in my room yet.
All right.
Okay.
That's fine. All right. So what else should we tell them? Oh, sorry. For the Conrad, you said 80,000 points a night.
I think so.
Ish?
Yeah.
It's 90,000
Okay, now it's
points a
90.
night.
90,000 Hilton Honors points a night.
Okay.
Or a free night award. Or $600 a lot of nights.
That's a great use of a free night award. Yeah, we frequently over $500 a night, but beautiful. And you said you really like the Mexican restaurant on the roof.
It's a don't miss. Siba is on their roof, even if you just have cocktails there, which I hope we're doing right after this. Do not miss Siba. They have an Italian restaurant that's outstanding. We ate lunch at Papaya today there. It's outstanding. It's Polynesian food. Great poke bowl.
Oh, I missed the poke.
The food at the Conrad is outstanding, even
Yeah.
if you just pop in for drinks.
All right, so why are we here?
Why are we
How
here?
about who are we?
Yeah.
Who are we?
Let's start with who are
we don't know who we are.
Julian and I are just Abbott and Costello back here.
Yeah,
Just
right.
confusing.
We just wanna-
on each other's feeds. we should
Which
explain who-
which one? Who's on first?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Summer, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yes. I'm Summer. Online, go by Mommy Points. I have been the Points Miles Travel World for however old my kid is, which is almost 15. And I hang out with these kids.
Good Lord, that makes sense. Here, I'm going to move this.
And for your day job, you have a pretty important role.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah. I work at the Points Guy. Sometimes they let me tell stories and do videos. And then a lot of times I'm doing stuff behind the scenes these days, like helping to run the daily newsletter, which you should totally subscribe to if you don't already.
You should totally subscribe to it.
You should
And when they
totally
don't let
subscribe
you,
to it.
When they don't let you tell stories, you still tell stories.
Sometimes.
Which is good.
Yes.
I am Ed Pizza in Motion, also co-host of the Miles to Go podcast with that guy over there. So I point the right way, who will introduce himself here shortly. And Mr. Kerr.
Hey everybody, Richard Kerr. I've been in the Points and Miles space for a while in a variety of different roles. Currently working at a company called Built Rewards.
I've heard of them. Wait, there's a ding.
Ding.
All right, that only leaves Julian.
I am Julian Gill. I am the CEO and founder of PointsPath, which is a points and miles search tool that you should go to pointspath.com and install. Don't leave the AMA yet when its AMA is over. Then go to the
You're supposed to say
pointspath.com.
don't leave first.
Don't leave. Yeah, sorry. Don't leave. Oh, they're gone. Anyway, it's a terrific search engine, runs on top of Google Flights and tells you when to use points and when to use cash.
It legitimately is too. It requires no extra work to tell you how many points something costs and if you should use points or cash.
If there is something, someone's going to build a tool that requires no brain power, it's going to be me.
Well, and it answers probably the most frequent question I get, which is when are you supposed to use your points and miles? Most folks who are listening don't have the nerdy spreadsheets that we all do stacked in our heads. They just want to know, like,
so
is this
should that
okay?
be our first question?
What?
When should you use points and miles
Right
versus
now.
cash?
Right now.
Yeah.
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 All right. So that will be your first question, but first let's talk about why we're doing an AMA.
Okay.
So we've all participated before in various challenges, fundraisers for a great organization called Give Kids the World. I think you're the only one of the four of us that has actually volunteered there so far, but I'm threatening to volunteer there with
Do
you
it.
as soon as we
Yes.
have a day available. So short answer for what is Give Kids the World? It's an incredible charity that's sort of like the behind the scenes folks for Make-A-Wish kids that want to come to Disney World as their wish. It's a village where each family gets their own casita. There are medical staff there. There are special vans to get people back and forth to the park. There are free park tickets. There's unlimited ice cream. There's character meet and greets. And these kids and their families get an incredible vacation for the week. It costs about $6,000 per family. And so we've been fundraising. You should see links on all of our various channels to help families be able to have this experience. And so as part of that, we said we were going to have an AMA where you guys could ask us anything.
Yeah. We do some sort of fundraiser for them every year. We've raised probably $100,000 over the
Yeah.
last few years. There's no easy way to tell for sure, but the current link we're using is at 30-something thousand, and we've had several of about that size. So,
Yeah.
like Ed said, they've had hundreds of thousands of people there over the years. And it's incredible. About half of the Make-A-Wish kids choose a Central Florida theme park trip as their wish across the country. So
I didn't know it was that high. That's awesome.
it is. It's that high, and almost the vast majority, almost all of them stay at Give Kids the World.
Yeah. All right. So first question was when to use miles and miles.
I think we'll kick that one to Julian. Oh, yes.
I have a really good real life example.
Fine.
All right. Fine.
Julian built a whole tool, but Richard wants to
It's going to be
go.
really short,
Fine.
but a really good answer.
But Richard is a tool.
Let's say 24 hours before you're supposed to take an amazing vacation, your daughter doesn't feel so good.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
And you cancel her $29 Frontier ticket.
Okay. And then what happens?
She recovers after 24 hours of antibiotics and being a kid.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and you have to get her from Atlanta to Orlando. And the only way to do that is for $312 per person.
What are your other options?
you transfer over 22,000 Chase points to cover those Southwest flights. And instead of forking out $624 just yesterday, I forked out a very painful but a very more efficient 40,000 Chase points.
That's a good time to use points. It's
Yeah.
not much.
Do you have another example like that?
Yeah, sure. You know what? If you say earlier this week, Virgin Atlantic made some changes to their
Which we were all
award program.
dreading. But
Which to this day, I don't know if they meant to do what they did. I don't know.
Of course they
Did
did.
they? Yes, right. And all of a sudden, you have business class available from New York to London for 29,000 points instead of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. That's a good time to use points. Great. That's a really good time, especially when you can get a transfer bonus from Citi of 30% to Virgin Atlantic, or from Chase 40% to Virgin Atlantic.
Or if you speculatively did 100% with Built. And
Tell
you
me
booked,
about that, Richard.
well, we booked 4 of them for the entire family, and we're going to London for about 60,000 Built points total in business class. Not bad.
Nice.
Not bad. That's what you should
and the
use
fees
points.
are no longer terrible on these too.
No, 254 instead of
Well,
839.
on these they weren't. On what was like the new regular pricing, the fees were not quite gnarly.
Well, you
but
don't want to book those days.
100%. Yeah.
That's not when to use points.
Yeah, the fees definitely seem to scale in a way that makes them quite painful.
Yeah.
You also, by the way, as much as the choice of transferring from a program like Citi or Chase is appealing, and transferring from Built for 100% transfer bonus is appealing, you could also go my path. I had some Virgin points already in my account, but I didn't have quite enough, so I transferred from Amex, which had no transfer bonus. So that would be bad. So just even though we say it's, I made the mistake of, in that brief heated moment where we were all rushing.
There were
to
a
book-
lot of text flying.
There were a lot of
and
text
allegedly
flying.
a Slack community that I've heard about.
Yes, everybody in the Slack community went bonkers about this. There are people behind the scenes over there
Laughing at us
that
because I haven't joined.
Yeah, well, laughing because they enjoyed, but also because they were booking tickets. And as I was like navigating that with all the people in the Slack community, completely forgot there were transfer bonuses until after I had done the transfer. So,
Richard doesn't know how to use this computer again.
is your first time using a computer?
Well, to be fair, I'm probably the least technical here on this entire house.
I don't know. We have a competition.
I've had a few questions in my comments, so I'm going to throw to you guys, and we're going to do a little rapid fire to get through some of these.
Okay.
Number 1, what is all of your favorite cities in Asia?
Ooh. All right. Well, Lynn,
I'm classic. I'd probably go Japan, but I did like
that's
Singapore.
not a city, by the way.
Just saying.
Sorry, Tokyo. That's right. Tokyo is a city.
We are travel experts, Julian Keel.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Good night. Take care, everybody.
Beer time.
Yeah, I've only had 2. Tokyo. I like Tokyo, but I will say I like Singapore as well. But those are kind of obvious choices.
What do you got, pizza?
You know, based on our recent Japan trip this summer, I'd have to say it was Kyoto.
Oh, you stole mine.
All right, fine. I'll change. I'll go Nara. Nara was great. Short version Nara is there's a large park in Nara, and the deer that are in the park, they say they're domesticated, but in reality they're just kind to humans. And then there are other ones that are not so kind to humans and like to nibble on you if you don't give them crackers. But they're incredible creatures in this beautiful temple that's surrounded by these trees. It's just a very unique experience, and it's about a 35-minute train ride from Kyoto. So now you can have Kyoto.
Okay, I'll take Kyoto. Tokyo also great, but Kyoto was outstanding. It felt like you were somewhere completely different. It felt special, magical. The temples, you might spot a geisha. Please leave them alone if you do. The Park Hyatt Kyoto is the kind of place that points were made for, because
Yes.
that would never ever
Oh my
happen in
God.
my world,
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
ever. It was special. The food was great, and things were very affordable. So
I will say one other thing too about Kyoto, because we stole this idea from you. So as luck would have it, over time, I've gained some weight since I got married a long time ago.
you must be the only one that's
I am
ever happened to.
the only one.
Yeah, that's
and my
weird.
wedding ring stopped fitting.
Yeah.
And so we saw your video where you went to, I think the name of the place is Giada. Anyways, right by the Park Hyatt Kyoto. There's 2 locations. We went to the one right by the Park Hyatt Kyoto. And my wife had 2 rings made, and then I had a new wedding ring made, and we had them engraved with the date
Yeah.
and Kyoto.
Yeah.
And so now I'm officially
I
married.
did the same thing.
I'm married again.
But we're not married.
No,
Josh
we're
is over
married,
there.
but to
Michelle's
others.
over there,
Yeah,
but-
we're married to others.
But these rings were, what were they, like, I don't know,
We spent
$15?
about- Yeah, we spent about $100 for 3 rings.
Yeah, that's great.
We used to have a
Well,
wedding.
since I said your favorite city in Asia, and all 3 went in Japan, I will also not go Japan.
Okay, thanks.
And I will go a little place called Da Nang, Vietnam. Still home to my favorite Hyatt in the world, the Hyatt Regency Da Nang, which is fantastic. A little history is the first place the Americans came ashore in 1965. And I didn't know what to expect. And from a cultural perspective, I was a little nervous, but I found the most friendly, welcoming, curious people in the world. And just south is the French Indochina village of Hoi An that you can experience. And then there's other just random things like Greg Norman Golf Resorts. And it's an amazing place to get a little bit of all kinds of culture. So Da Nang, Vietnam. That's where I'm going to go.
Very nice.
I got a really good question here. I'm just going to fire these off.
And I'm going to quick time out. Sway, can you look in Slack and see if there are any questions from Slack members? Thank you, sir.
That's a gentleman named Sway over there on the couch.
He's amazing.
We're gonna keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going.
If you could add one country to Epcot, what country would it be?
Oh boy, it sucks. Who's gonna go last for this one? Because all right, so who gets?
Luckily, nobody can say Japan because it's already there.
Right.
Yeah,
so Richard hasn't gotten to go first yet. So Richard, you get to go first.
Wow. I think a vastly underrepresented area of the world is Africa. And I would add probably something like a Zimbabwe, a South Africa, an Ethiopia, something like that. Because when you come around that little corner in between China and Germany, it's kind of a little lame sauce. So I think we got to add a little something in there.
Yeah.
And I would love like a safari. Like there's a lot you could do with the Imagineers to do a safari.
Yeah.
Well, don't they have Kenya?
Sometimes there's like a little
We'll see.
drum
There's a
thing.
little bit of
or-
Africa thing right in between China and then before
Yeah.
you get to
There's like,
over the bridge, like
but not for real, for real.
No, but yeah, there's a little bit there. But you could repurpose some of that area by the bridge.
Yeah.
Tanzania, final answer.
Okay.
Go ahead, because I got to look up what's there.
Oh, Julian, we're embarrassed of you.
Thank you, May.
All right, I'll go. So mine would either be Australia or New Zealand. I think both could be really fun. And I think there's a lot you could do with either one of them.
What would the ride be?
So if you went New Zealand, I would go adventure. So one thing we did when we were in New Zealand is it wasn't bungee jumping, but it's sort of like, it's like the baby version of that, where you sort of do the ropes course and at the end you've got that like jump.
Right.
But of course there is bungee jumping there and skydiving and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I would lean into adventure. Of course, I know now it's all about IP, so we'd have to figure out that angle, but something adventure-y and beautiful.
Yeah. All right, Julian.
No, keep going. I'm looking.
So Richard Speed's apparently the best.
I hate to say that.
So maybe we can move.
Yeah, just go.
All right, so I would say Brazil, and I'm going to steal the one that we were talking about earlier. It's probably the most obvious one that's missing. We were having this discussion in the parks earlier today. There have been rumors about putting a Brazil in. We actually thought D23, not this most recent one, but the one before, we thought they were going to announce Brazil. And there's a couple obvious places, I think, where you could make space. You've got space over by America, certainly, the corner by Canada, and then there's that event center that they've used a couple of times in between Canada and the UK. So there's definitely room for it. And I would say Brazil would be the theme. What would the ride be? Man, I don't know.
This is obviously not a country, but Hawaii would be amazing there too, and lean into Moana, but that's not a country, so.
It feels like a country.
I
Now,
mean-
having been there, I get it.
Yeah. Oh, ooh, okay. We're going to talk about that in another podcast.
We went twice.
All right.
I'm
All
a
right.
veteran now.
Okay.
I'm looking at this list. It's heavy on Western Europe and Mexico then and Norway and China. That's pretty much it. And Japan. Mm-hmm. That's about all there is. So,
Well,
that opens up. That's like
just-
a million.
you ju-
There's
you
like a
just
million countries.
I
you
haven't
can
heard
put
an
down.
answer.
You're right. You
back
just named
there.
most of the countries that are in Epcot. Thank you.
I do like
That was a great stall.
Chile. I do a Chile. You know why? Because Chile is really long and thin, and you get everything like in
Like
the
us.
north. Not like me. You get everything like in the north to the south. You get different climates. You can do a million things with Chile.
That world powerhouse.
The world powerhouse Chile. I'm picking Chile.
All right.
And I
All
don't
right.
know what ride it would be, but I would serve Chile.
Oh, God.
We might have heard a snort from the couch.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Mike's laughing over
I
here.
would go the soccer-themed ride for Brazil. There you go.
Okay. All right.
All right, what else we got?
Do
for
we have
questions?
another question that we can't see, but maybe you can see?
Do you want?
Yeah, I've got one here from one of the Points Path folks. Planning a trip to Spain, and the big 4 hotel chains have few to no options in certain cities. Where do you guys look for hotels? That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh.
Who wants to start with that?
I can say what I did in
Yeah.
Spain. Oh, you go ahead. You go, Kerr.
Yeah, we just did Barcelona, and the short answer is pretty much everywhere in Europe. You get 2 rooms if you're a family larger than 3.
You can try Hotspot to me.
You can also do the whole Airbnb kind of deal. I've typically just had bad luck with Airbnb, and there's no recourse if you have a bad host. You get canceled on last second, which has happened to me a couple times in the last short near term. So unfortunately 2 rooms, but we had an amazing stay in Barcelona at a small luxury hotel, which was bookable by Hyatt, now bookable by Hilton. So I would take a look and see right there on Los Rambles, and we had an amazing time in Barcelona. But 2 rooms, and I'm facing this now with our previously mentioned flights to London. There's a few things with Hyatt you can do to book a premium or a standard room and then upgrade with the Suite Night Award, but that's pretty rare to get the occupancy of 4. So 2 rooms, sadly, is usually my go-to.
There's people.
All right, who's next, Julian?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, right. So if you are having trouble looking for chain hotels, I think you can look at the Chase programs. Remind me what they call their portfolio of Chase hotels, luxury hotels, or the Amex
FHR
group again, which I'm forgetting.
FHR.
Fine Hotels and Resorts. If you have an Amex Platinum, you can get $200 credit and things like that. So I would look at those sort of alternate places. Worst case scenario, if you've got a Sapphire Preferred, Sapphire Reserve, you book it through Chase and get your 1.25 cents per point, 1.5 cents per point. May not be the best redemption of the world, but it's certainly not the worst either.
Free is free.
Free is free. Yeah. So
Yeah.
would be where I would look at having trouble finding chain hotels.
What we did a few things, but when we went a little early unexpectedly and I was tired of booking 2 rooms, we got into the Chase travel portal and we found what is essentially an apartment that's made for short-term bookings.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
And so now, caveat, I think, there's a whole bunch of upset about the fact that this is taking what could be used as lodging for people that live there. So decide for yourself it's the right thing for you. But it was a 2-bedroom apartment that we were all able to stay in and book via the Chase portal with Chase points. And that was great.
Everybody took all my ideas.
Sorry.
I forgot about the Marriott Homes and Villas. Yeah.
I like
Do
that
they
you're
have
taking one
Spain?
more of Ed's ideas.
Do they have Spain?
Yeah, they do. Marriott Homes and Villas, because you do have a little bit of recourse there and the ability to contact bond boys. Something goes sideways. There's actually some very reasonable price ones in Spain that we looked at earlier this year. So Homes and Villas, if you haven't looked at that.
And sometimes Hyatt Family Plan works in Europe. Not always, but sometimes where the second room,
Less than
maybe
it used
less.
to,
Yeah.
That is, I have such hit or miss with that.
Yeah.
Some people know exactly what I'm talking about. Other people have no idea.
Marriott Homes and Villas, we've used that in the U.S. a good option. So knowing that's in Spain, I would definitely consider that. I also, to your point on SLH, I don't know about Spain specifically, but I've got Lisbon coming up, and oddly enough, there were a handful of Mr. and Mrs. Smith properties that had multi-room lodging options. So they're not necessarily cheap, but that's another option to consider.
Sweet. What we got next?
SUITE. What do we got? Question?
I am unfortunately getting overloaded with build questions, which we will not bring into this AMA.
We're not even going to do one build
How
question.
do we get free bill points?
Yeah, a lot of people.
And a few from that were submitted earlier.
Yes, we did. One was about how many points a year do we all use?
Oh. Well, Ed, just say 11 billion for Ed.
There is no limit.
There's no limit. Yeah.
Japan was expensive. Yeah, we did 3 weeks, 2 weeks in Japan, 1 week in Hawaii. We did this on and I'll put a link to this when we post this, but I did a math episode with Richard where we broke down all the points that I spent. But on that trip for Japan, I mean, we spent over 1 million points. 4 business class tickets to Japan, then to Hawaii, then home. 3 weeks in hotels, most cities, 2 rooms. It was.
You know what people are thinking, Ed? How do you get that many points?
I won the lottery. No, I'm fortunate enough to work 1 million hours and along the way get to use my credit cards.
So you're paid 1 point per hour. You need to renegotiate.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's a bunch of business spend that we get to put on our credit cards that help me rack up points. So we are, knock on wood, fortunate enough to have that. And so in the few weeks where I can have downtime, we can use those points to do incredible things as a family. But other than that, I would have to get very creative on how to fund something like that.
We probably use 500 to 700,000 a year, I would guess. A little bit here and there on hotels, and then there's usually one big international trip a year these days. This year it was to Japan, and Europe. Next year it's going to be Europe, so that will take a big hit. But just this week, I got a credit card with a 200,000 point welcome bonus. So that's how we replenish. I don't have like the ace in the pocket like you do with all the reimbursable spend, but I will pull the trigger on cards when they are big. And I will buy points too, if it's cheaper. It was a refer a friend for business gold.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think the other thing I would say about summer specifically, I think one of the things that I think you do really well, having traveled with you a few times and then hearing how you've done things, you find ways to use small amounts of money along with points to string together a trip. And I think for folks, like, it's not about paying for the whole trip with points. It's about using points to make a trip that might not have otherwise been possible. So you take your budget for a vacation and fold in some amount of affordable stays or airline tickets or whatever to bring together a vacation.
Yeah.
All right.
Backseat.
How many points do I use a year? I always have these grand plans of starting a spreadsheet in January of every year, but by January 15th, I've already not filled it out.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably the neighborhood of what summer, 400,000 or 500,000 a year. Yeah. And if American Express continues to say here, have 250,000 points every few months, then I say thank you very much.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds about right. It's the same to me, about 500,000, something like that. I also have a business, so I have expenses that run through my business credit card. I generally use a Chase Inc. Unlimited for it, so I'm getting 1.5 points for every dollar. And I have a couple of specialized credit cards that I, if I have bonus categories or whatever, then I do that. But
I will chase a bonus category down the road.
Yeah. The recent Chase Inc. offer was definitely a good one, and I added a fourth to the fold for my business. That's a solid.
It's good to be a hustler.
Solid family of cards.
All right, we've got a question from the couch, from Instagram.
From one couch.
Oh, boy.
No.
So here's the question was, for those of you who can hear, the question was, do we think the Boom Overture, which is the new supersonic Concorde replacement plane that's in development, and I think is currently scheduled to do 2029 as the latest I've heard.
Development?
Will enter service before the 777X. If you haven't been following along lately, Boeing's in a little bit of trouble, lost some of their workforce this year, still on strike. Complete new leadership, if you look at the stock. Ed, it's been a little bit of a struggle, bless. So the 777X, which is a replacement, the notable thing being the folding wingtips of the 777X, will enter service first versus the Boom Overture. My short answer is I don't think Boom Overture will ever enter service. I really love their PR game, though. Like, no shade. I think they're really great at their PR game. Love following their CEO every time he gets on a commercial flight. He does an AMA where everybody asks him everything as he's sitting on, the current generation. And it's super clever, but I don't think they figured out engine issues. You can't do sonic booms over land, so their routes are very limited. 777X will definitely enter service before Boom Overture.
Yeah, the other thing I agree, because the other issue is there really a need for supersonic travel aside from that's cool?
When I think Starship's going to happen first, taking people.
Yeah. Right. Well, days, right? You didn't have lie flat seats. You didn't have Wi-Fi. Now you've got all that stuff, and it's only getting better. So what's the rush at that point if you can continue to do business there from is it really worth saving a couple hours just for the cost and what it's going to cost for a ticket?
Yeah, those plane tickets on Boom are just going to be a lot more expensive than currently.
They're not going to be available for 29,000 Virgin points.
No, I don't think so.
20,000 Virgin points and $1 million in taxes.
Okay.
But I really appreciate the ad game question there. I like that one.
That was 5-star.
For what it's worth, too, to what Julian said, I think Wi-Fi on planes, changes things a lot for the business traveler. So I won't take a 5-hour transcon flight if I don't have Wi-Fi, and yet I continue to fly United. Separate thing, but but that makes a big difference for business travelers. The comfort as well, being able to get somewhere and wake up fresh. The Concorde came out at a time where those things were really non-existent. And then I would say to Richard's comment about Boeing being in a little bit of trouble, that would be like saying that Richard has lost a little bit of hair. So things are not pretty at Boeing right now.
Wow.
I mean, what the.
There's a reason
that's the first time I've ever said something.
There's a reason they put back row. There's a reason we're back.
Been back row Baptist my whole life.
All right, I have another question from Instagram. This one was from someone who wants advice on Julian. You might be out of this one, but they want advice on what is an easy spot if you are going as a solo parent to take your little kids.
Ooh, Richard, you want to go first or me?
I'm gonna say camping is my go-to spot. Wow.
Are you okay? You guys all right up front there?
Thank God.
I just want to say that the
that was visceral.
The judgment overture of this group chat over the last week has been significantly higher to whatever I've seen.
Choking up there.
The great outdoors and living life the way it's meant to be lived. Gross.
In a
Ew.
tent?
That's all I have to say about that.
Is there room service in that camping thing?
Please define camping.
Right. Yeah. I usually go with hotel that doesn't have room service. That's usually my threshold. Except for the brief period of time that I owned
please
a-
elaborate. Are you talking about solo parent throwing a tent in the back of the car, or are you talking about your RV? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, I do it in the RV, but all the rival dads in the neighborhood, we have weekends where we take the kids, and only 2 of us have RVs, and the rest have tents, and it's only the kids and the dads, and they throw the tent in there, and like everybody has a great time. It's literally everybody just. Oh,
Wow.
all right. My feelings are a little hurt, but there you go. My agree.
So you're a better parent than me. I do better with air conditioning and running toilets and probably a bathtub and maybe a refrigerator or room service or a coffee or
Those all sound
something.
great. Yeah.
Or a pillow.
Flashlights in a bug container, and I can sit by the fire for hours, and the kids are entertained. Like that's
You know, they have fires in hotels too.
that. Not intentionally, I hope.
There's fire pits with a
they're
s'more
great.
kit.
Okay,
that
we all
they
hated
hand
my
you.
answer, so go ahead and say
No,
yours, so I
I
can equally.
I love your
Yeah.
answer. I could never. Okay, so I could never.
I love it. She loves it for you.
I love this for you.
Yeah.
For me, those 500 to 700,000 points I was talking about using each year, I would be using some of those probably at a Hyatt. If I'm just being honest, looking at my history, if I'm going to be camping, it's going to be the s'more kit at Hyatt Lost Pines. Just being honest. I've taken the kids by myself to the Grand Hyatt Kauai, where they have on-site lagoons and water slides and all of that. And then for like a ski trip on-site at Park Hyatt Beaver Creek, where you walk outside and you're on the mountain. So what I agree with about Richard entirely is sort of location is everything. So the great outdoors is right at your tent backyard and his trip. And on all of mine, the thing you're going to do is where you are. So where you are is what you're doing. And for me, when I would travel with little kids by myself, that was what made or break it. And a toilet and air conditioning.
Thanks for that horrible answer, Ed. You're up next.
So I would say 2 things because I like Summer's comments about a couple throw in, and I'll mention for Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress outside of the grounds of Disney World because I think it's a good compromise property. Lots of stuff to do, pools, activities, like the grotto cave where you can swim into, all that stuff. Plus you're close to both theme parks. But if I were to pick a destination, I would actually say Denver. One is I think relatively easy to find cheap airfare into Denver. Depending on the age of your kids, my wife will remember, she's back there behind the camera, probably the best children's museum we ever went to. A lot of activities downtown, very walkable downtown. And then you've got, as Summer noted, ski mountains are close by, lots of hiking, great place to be outdoors, and relatively centrally located. I mean, a little bit further for us from the East Coast, but plenty of cheap airline
A
options.
great train from the airport. Yes, you don't have to rent a car if you don't want to.
Yeah, okay.
The airport is in Nebraska.
It is
so.
Kansas, but yes, sure.
Yeah, Kansas. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, like I said, every chain has everything up and down the spectrum for hotel rooms. So if you want a multi-bedroom room, or if you want something upscale, like there's one of everything in and around Denver. And I just think it's a little bit of an overlooked city to take a kid and be able to experience a lot of different things.
Yeah, you may reminded me of a trip I want to do with my kids at some point, which is taking the ski train from downtown Denver. So you take the train from the airport to downtown, and then you can take the ski train to Winter Park on weekends throughout part of the winter. And you don't have to rent a car or drive in the snow or deal with that mountain traffic.
It is fun standing in the train station watching people try to fumble all the gear onto that train.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah. Oh, Sway, question?
Here comes the biggest myth in travel. So if you couldn't hear the question off, it was, is there a day of the week where we all book travel because you get better deals and cheaper fares? I feel like Julian and all of your data would have something to say about this.
Yeah, it is. You said it right. It's a myth. There is. So let's clarify something. The day you book travel versus the day you are departing or are actually traveling are 2 different things.
Yeah.
The day you are actually traveling, yes, midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those can be better deals.
And how far out from those days you're booking is also
and
true.
obviously, if you're booking more than 2 weeks out, it's going to be cheaper than if you're booking close in. That does make a difference. However, booking on a specific day for a flight, on a whatever day, that's not going to make a difference. That's left over from 20, 30 years ago when maybe they loaded airfares all in on Tuesday at midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't do it that way anymore. It changes by the minute. It's all done by algorithms. So there's no day that you should book that you're going to get
Unless
a better
you're a
deal.
virgin and you shatter your whole program and offer seats on all the flights.
But Julian, that's not what my favorite TikTok influencers tell me.
What? Well,
They tell me I should book Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
Who's your
Yeah.
favorite TikTok influencers? We can get this info.
I would answer that, but I don't have the money.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question.
Well, I would. Yeah. Okay. Good.
No, go ahead.
No, sorry.
Okay. The best day to book these days is when there's a good deal. So my follow-up question is going to be, how do y'all find good deals like the Virgin Atlantic thing we were all talking about earlier?
Well, I would say to your point about good deals, I think it's like the old, old baseball player, we Willie Winkers that hit them where they ain't. I mean, we used to come to Disney all the time around Election Day because our school had Monday off in between the weekend and Election Day because they use our schools for elections. So looking at your school schedule and finding times, if you have kids, finding times where you can travel where it's not the most popular week is a great place to start, in my opinion.
Yeah.
People will probably ask me this the most often every single week. When should I book something? I say, when you find the right price at the right time that you feel good, pull the trigger. And then turn off your alerts so that you don't drive yourself nuts trying to check it over and over. On the other hand, if you're very flexible, there's so many deal alert tools these days that, I think Thrifty Traveler is probably the most effective for me lately, which is who alerted me to the Virgin deal this week. But, I mean, Julie, you know how many different tools there are that you can subscribe to. And
Yeah, there's a million. I will say, I think I would argue a little bit with the second part of your answer, which is turn off alerts.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Because I think actually the best part about how airlines sell tickets today is most of the time you can cancel them without penalty and rebook. So I would leave that alert on and continue to look for a better deal. That's usually my advice is go ahead and just book the best price you can find at this time, and then keep turning your alerts, watching your
Because
alerts.
you can get a credit toward a future flight.
Or if you booked with points, you can usually just give them redeposit.
Yeah.
So that would be my addition to that.
I think it's also worth remembering, too, that when any deal pops up, and the Virgin thing certainly reminded everybody in this room of this, if you're originating in the U.S. or coming back to the U.S. for the flight that you're booking, you have 24 hours to cancel. So book it while you find it, and then spend time talking with the other decision makers for a specific trip.
as long as your departure date for most airlines is more than 7 days out from when you book.
Thank
So
you.
don't forget about that. Let's go a nerdy question, if we will, back to the points. Really good question here from
one from the points.
with the merger. This is
This is the one.
I'm tying it. No, I'm tying it all together. You have two questions.
Nice.
Professional podcast.
Yeah, two questions here. Basically,
My
we're
job
going to
is
switch
done.
over to the Hawaiian-Alaska merger. And the
right.
first question is, with the combination of the Hawaiian and Alaska program, what is one thing we would each like to see in the new program if we were going to be designing it? Now, they've already announced a lot of changes. They've already said, hey, and the government's actually said a lot of things need to stay the same. They're doing reciprocal status matches already. They said transfers are going to be 1-to-1. But if you were making the new program, Julian, what is one thing you want to see between?
Someone else first, then you think about this. Go to Summer.
That's what I said, Summer. If you would like,
Smart.
one thing if you want to see in the new Alaska Hawaiian combined
take
program.
Oh, I probably won't take yours. I want to see them be different by not changing too much. These days everybody's almost revenue-based, dynamic pricing, yada, yada, yada. And I would love to see them continue to have some distance-based grounding. I would love to see them still have actual award charts. So I would like to see them be different by not changing too much.
And I think they've committed to a lot of that
They
based on the
have.
changes they made just in the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
where they're going to stick with some of that.
Yeah, and I think the distance-based stuff is probably less of a concern for me, but having a chart so people know where the sidelines and goalposts are, I think is important. I would steal part of Aeroplan's program, and you're going to love this part because of where your heart is at most times. I would say free stopovers in Hawaii and any awards to any flights from the North
I
America
do like
to
that.
Asia.
Yeah, I do like that. And frankly, Hawaii is a great way to get to Asia.
Yeah, yeah. As I learned when you did it, and then we did it in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually am with Summer to some degree. I think that and it's interesting because they didn't make a lot of changes, and theoretically it was because they were promised they wouldn't, but I think they promised they wouldn't because they weren't going to anyway. I think that was kind of an easy way to get approval for the deal. Alaska has often led the way in quality of their program. They are the only ones left who are still basically awarding miles based on distance and not by how much you spend. And I think they do a pretty darn good job. So I don't know that I do have nothing in particular comes to mind as saying, oh, this would be a huge improvement. I think they're doing a pretty good job, frankly.
I think we all got to spend a little bit of time with the Alaska execs a couple weeks ago in Austin, and I get to talk to them a little bit in the day job, and I'm pretty confident that the value we see today is going to continue to only really actually get better in the new program.
They like this game, which always helps.
They said something, one of the execs said something when we were having the little meet and greet with them that I think was very telling. They talked about the fact that they love and they continue to hear their members talk about earning on Alaska and redeeming everywhere else, and that they want to make sure that when their members are searching for awards online, that they can see seats to everywhere else. And they even talked about trying to, for the nerdy people, including more fare buckets so that they could have more dates on a calendar where you could see the lowest price in coach to book a ticket, because they know that's what their members want. I mean, I think that's a very unique perspective from a loyalty program exec. You don't hear that often. You hear things about budgets and making the program affordable for them to operate, things like that. That amount of listening from the heads of Alaska, really triggered in my head and stuck with me from that conversation.
Julian, you got a part 2 to this question.
I do. Also, part of this is from the PointsPath folks, a follow-up. Predictions on when Hawaiian will not be an Amex transfer partner anymore.
I have the answer to this one.
If you have I don't know. What you tell me? Can you? All right. So Richard,
NDA. All right,
I'll just guess.
You go higher and lower. We'll just say the answer. You just do something. Nope.
I would guess a couple months into 2025.
I'd say probably a little further into 2025, but
Could be.
I wouldn't wait too long.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm being conservative here.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be before they have a combined program.
Yeah, I think you go happy holidays and then you move your points.
So I believe they partially answered this in a recent interview. I can't remember with who. I think they said that they expect, or maybe it is speculating, that when they do consolidate the credit card partners between Barclays, the existing Hawaiian card, and then BOA, the Alaskan, that's probably when they would shut down the Amex transfers as well.
One day,
I see Richard's nodding at me and saying
one day
nothing.
It's just not going to
legally,
work.
Richard is saying nothing. I just want to say. So.
It's a great time to apply for the Hawaiian Airlines.
It is.
Great time.
Great time.
Okay, what is your favorite travel tool out of all the new ones that have come up in the last few years?
Wow.
Julian gets to go first.
And you cannot say PointsPath.
Why can't I? Because I actually think for normal people, it's the best one.
Yeah, she could say PointsPath. Julian,
We all would agree PointsPath.
For normal people.
Aside from PointsPath, what is the best one?
What's second place?
What's second?
Go ahead.
You know what? I will say this, and I always say this whenever I do interviews. I think PointsPath is terrific for the people, our audience, which is the people who don't spend hours and hours looking for trips and are not experts at using their miles. And I think it's terrific for that. For people who do really want to do like hours and hours of searching, I think that some of the reward search tools that have come out that do that handle that kind of an audience are great. I use Pointsia all the time when I'm looking for like that kind of really deep dive. That's probably the big one I use. Yeah. So I would say there are a couple of other reward search tools that are also really good. And I think we're all getting better all the time. We're all competing and we're all improving as we go.
A couple of questions about the Daily Drops new tool that just came out, and I think you're familiar with. What is the power behind that?
Yeah, I don't know for a fact. From what I've looked at, I believe the Daily Drops new tool is the Awaze tool, which is another competitor. And I think we're going to start seeing more of that, of seeing some of these award tools being white labeled, if you will, under different banners. We don't have any plans to do that at PointsPath, but I do think, again, it's very much like I always say, the right tool for the right time and the right task. And PointsPath, I think, is great for when you just say, just tell me what to do. Just tell me, should I use cash? Should I use points? That's all I want to know. And then I want to go about my day. I think PointsPath is perfect for that. When you want to really like get into a deep dive and I'm willing to reposition and change and all that, then there might be another tool that's more appropriate.
I think when I look at the ecosystem, Points, Seats.Arrow, like all the companies, like I think they all have some version of warts, whether it's, caching of inventory, all that stuff that can make it hard for somebody who's not an expert at this to know whether they're getting good results or not. So I think my 2 cents would be, if I were to pick another tool, it'd probably be Thrifty Traveler, only because I think, I really started to see a lot more of their stuff once they were a sponsor of the podcast a couple of times. But what I really started to see about the deals is that there's very much a step 1, step 2, step 3 of how to book these deals. And it starts to give folks a little bit of that instruction. They've added hotel alerts now. So hotel deals that you can find when you book that award. So I think for folks who may not have used their points yet, it sort of gives them a way to go from A to Z to make their first booking. And I think that can be intimidating for folks who are just getting involved.
This is not a tool, but we're doing this in our daily newsletter at TPG. We're doing a deal of the day. It's not every day, and it's not just like, hey, there's these great seats to such and such for such and such points. It's an actual whole thing that'll show you step by step how to do it all, kind of like that.
And I think that's a huge point, yeah.
But if we're going to go tool that's not Julian's points path, then I'd go Seats.Arrow if you're just trying to find some great availability. Yeah, and I'm distracted because the people making our dinner have walked in, and we're so excited to see them.
Yeah. One thing I'd say with Seats.Arrow is I have gotten a number of phantom alerts.
Yeah.
When I try to search for stuff. Now, that's the nerdier side. I'm searching for specific inventory buckets, stuff like that. That stuff seems to be a little wonky. To your point, the regular search seems to be better. But from a nerd perspective, it's a little hard to handle the alerts right now.
I'm a little biased in that I really like Away's hotel award calendar so much that I put it in our product during the day job. But if I'm looking at specific hotels like the Swalfin here in Disney, and I can pull up an entire year-long view for every day of the award availability and pricing, it's pretty useful. So,
and I think that speaks to, it's like, hey, hotel chains, this is what people want. Yeah. Like, you could just do this yourself, and there's no reason to not do it.
Well, Marriott does that, don't they?
Does Marriott have live availability? Hyatt does not, though.
Correct. Marriott will show you month by month availability. It's just not frequently accurate.
Yeah.
Well, so
Hyatt's pricing chart makes you think it's there and it's not.
Yeah.
Hyatt's.
I don't like the fact that you look and it seems like you could book an award and then you click through.
Yeah.
So.
I've got, I'm not sure if we have to wrap up here as we get some
probably
visitors
soon.
to the
Do we
house.
have one or two more questions lurking?
I got a good one here that I like.
All right.
What destination are most people sleeping on? Speaking as someone who just did a deep dive into Lima, Peru, and I'm stoked to check it out. What's a place that people are sleeping on?
Ooh, I got one. I was just looking at somebody's question that came in because I'm blind and can't see through my glasses.
That was real. I thought it was a dramatic pause.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, I didn't know if anybody else had one. I can go first.
Yeah,
Okay, go.
All right, Faroe Islands. I was lucky enough to go there for the inaugural flight from Faroe Islands to the U.S. Last year and found just completely unadulterated nature. Sort of like Iceland, if you've ever been there. There's just a lot of things in Iceland that are not overrun by tourists yet, even though there's, a very popular destination. Faroe, very simple people. It cost us $35-$40 a head to take a helicopter trip from one island to another. Incredible views, puffins, the whole bit. Like, you name all the things, and it's just very, very natural place to go. A little hard to get to, but not terribly expensive. As long as you can get to Europe, you can get to the Faroe Islands. Faroe Islands is a small cluster of islands. It's a Danish, probably not a province, but it's under Danish rule. It's a small collection of islands sort of in between Greenland and the UK. What else you got?
What was the question I was dealing with?
It's a destination everybody's sleeping on.
You're really good at this.
You guys all answered.
Ask me anything. I will listen.
Ask me anything.
Actually, we won't answer. Ask me anything.
You guys all answered Japan earlier, so I'll go back to my favorite spot in Japan that kind of gets overlooked. It's a very easy day trip from Tokyo, a place called Hakone.
Oh, yeah.
It is the Hyatt Regency Hakone. It's a hot springs place. You can take a funicular up. You can boil eggs in the volcanic water. You can go down and take this really obscure pirate ship across the lake to a city that's only accessible by the pirate ship. So if you ever have a chance to take a very quick day trip for a couple nights from Tokyo, Hakone, 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 Japan.
I don't know if people are sleeping on it or not, but it's one of my favorites, and it doesn't get talked about a lot in our circles, is Telluride. Now, it probably doesn't get talked about a lot in our circles because there's not a great points hotel option there right now.
I can't afford Telluride, so.
I know. So there are reasons that it's not. But I will say, if you really enjoy skiing, it is a miss to not eventually go to Telluride. But it's also great in all the other seasons too, frankly. Great food, great skiing, great people. And there are, especially if you're willing to use some of the chase portals and things like that, there are some properties in there, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, things like that.
And I will actually follow up on that with.
Did you need the question again?
No, Richard whispered it in my ear along with a couple other things. I would actually say Lake Tahoe. I don't know if people are sleeping on it or not. I don't think it gets mentioned as much as it is awesome. No matter what the season, of course, because in the winter you can ski, in the summer you can do water activities, and at night you can gamble. That's right, and you can gamble year round. So
great Hyatt property there.
Yeah, it's pretty much if I had to die and go to heaven somewhere, it might be Lake Tahoe. Really? Yeah.
Well, because
as long as I had endless money.
Yeah.
Well, money's a big part of that. Yeah, the Hyatt, which on the north side of the lake, they have some cottages that are part of the hotel. And actually, when we were lucky enough to stay there a handful of years ago, got upgraded to one of those cottages, which was a great 2-bedroom experience. Sunrise comes up over the lake in the morning. It was really beautiful. A special place to be able to use points. I actually can't see it well, so I'm going to lean forward again when you guys don't laugh at me. But I have a question from one of my followers. Best way to book business class to Australia next November for Metallica. So kudos for going for Metallica. But best way to book business class to Australia, I'm trying to think who has the most capacity, because there's been a bunch of airlines that have drawn down their Australian capacity recently.
I think you're going to have to use Alaska Miles to go through either Air Tahiti Nui or Fiji Airways is probably the most prevalent. Now, that's not nonstop, but go ahead and do your stopover and enjoy. But otherwise, I think you just got to get lucky with some alert settings and hope that United throws something open, maybe Qantas via Alaska as well.
It does happen, but you do need alerts.
Yeah.
This is definitely an alert thing, you're right. And I would say United Houston would be, of all the hub flights I can think of, that's probably the one that's most likely.
Yeah, and this is one of those, the second you see it, you need to be booking it situations.
Yeah.
Book now, ask questions later.
Definitely book now and ask questions later.
All right, should we wrap it up here?
Yeah.
I really wish we could give everybody an amazing tour. If you're not following us on Instagram, Mommy Points and Pizza in Motion in front of me, Points Path to my left. This is really an amazing place, as we say this as the caterers are walking in the door
it's insane, y'all.
to cook dinner.
And I don't have any idea if you can hear the elephants running around upstairs, but it's our kids repeatedly going up and down the slide from the second to the third floor. We're going to have tons of content on the Point Sky and all of our channels. So underrated destination. I mean, it sounds like a shameless plug, but I will say underrated destination also is Evermore if you're coming to the Orlando area.
Who won the water slide race?
I'd also like to thank Ed and Summer for getting us the worst seats in the house back here. I haven't sat this far back since the Taylor Swift concert. So
but you're on top.
Yeah.
It's really that angle up that's...
so you can see my nose,
so let's bring
my
it
double
back
chin.
to the kids, Julian.
And Evermore's great, by the way. Yeah.
Shoot us more. If we missed your question, we're all still together tonight, so we can try to just shoot you an answer. But please, if we were even 5% helpful or entertaining or awful, it's probably the last one. But we would love your support with Give Kids the World. We're trying to get over 34K. When we logged on, we had about 300 left to go to get there. And if we can get there, then we have just about almost paid for the average cost of one family to go and stay for the week from our most recent round of shenanigans. And we would love your help. $5 and $10 and $20 all add up.
Where do people go to donate?
We'll put a link in the video, but Give Kids the World, our team name this time is
Ride More, Raise More.
Ride More, Raise More. So
and all of our Instagrams where you're watching this, on one of our Instagrams, we have all posted the link, I think, in the last day, or we will do it again this evening.
As soon as we're done, we'll do it. Yeah. And we are right now currently in second place on the leaderboard for Give Kids the World. Love to take over first place.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Richard, you did a great job closing us out. You're going to be a podcaster one day.
So proud of you guys.
See ya.
Until we upload again, we got miles to go.
Wow.
Are you okay? You guys all right up front there?
Thank God.
I just want to say that